And welcome to an exciting adventure of the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and today we are coming to you live from Tombstone. And one thing you'll notice the ceiling, we love the fact that our overhead light is a poker table upside down. No, you all aren't confused, we're not playing an optical trick. It really is that. And tonight I have a truly awesome, amazing guest I have known for years.
Where? No. Oh,
we,
okay.
we have been on many adventures. We're actually on adventure right now. So I am pleased, blessed, and honored to introduce my friend, the one, the only, amazing, kind hearted Captain Rob.
Well, hello. It's a pleasure to be on your show tonight. Hello, everybody. Well, what now?
So, if you knew all the things that Captain Rob has done, the list is endless. There's no way I could do justice. Why don't you give the audience a little bit of your background?
Well, from the time I was about 15, I started doing stunts with movies in the background of movies, special extras, doing everything I possibly could to work. And at that time, I had been released from a children's hospital where I was burned up almost 70% of my body. And I know what it is to live in a children's hospital. So my only goal was to give kids a living, genuine hero that's been in that bed they are now. And I do nothing but my stunts in movies, raise money, buy toys, give them to children just to see them smile through the pain. Because I was never given a toy, and I know what that is to go through that. A toy, you don't have, when you're in a hospital, you worry about dying. You see your friends die, and that's what you think about. All you know, when I was in the hospital, that's back in the 60s, is the doctors would hurt you. As a child, that's all you knew. They didn't have children's psychologists at that time, none of that. And that's all we understood. They were hurting us. They weren't helping us. We didn't realize that they were actually helping. So I thought when I get old enough, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a hero that's been where they are. And I guess multi-world records later, I managed to do that because now I am in the Stuntman's Hall of Fame for helping children. I received the Living Heroes Award from the Ripley's, believe it or not. I received a Living Heroes Award from the Guinness World Book and the Global World Book, which is, I guess, in Asia somewhere. I managed to get in all the World Book as a living hero for helping children. It's all I've done. It's all I know. Now, as I got older, of course, I got involved in the paranormal. And the mysteries of the paranormal ate me up. I loved it. And I started doing it. I guess I started that when I was about 16 years old. When I heard my uncle tell a story about a courthouse. They were all around a campfire, all my uncles telling stories about a man who was accused of something he didn't do, a black man, and he was in the window of the courthouse looking down when they watching the mob gather to lynch him. Well, a lightning storm came up, and his image, so the story goes, was plastered in the glass. Was actually there, just like a photograph, no different. You know, they used to do photographs in glass plates. Well, this was a photograph in the window. Well, you know, I heard that story, kept it with me my whole life. It got me interested in the paranormal, you know, the spooky stories. So I started doing investigations. On this particular trip, I went to that particular courthouse, and sure as life, there it was, the image in the window, looking down at me, and I could not believe that. How scared that guy must have been when that happened. But it's nice to know a lot of the stories are real. And I've been paranormal hunting as long as I can know. Me and Mike, now we're here in Tombstone, Arizona. This is one of my big dreams to do with him. Me and Mike, I guess we've been out there traveling for a decade, if you add it all up. 7 years ago, we went traveling all over America. This time we're traveling all over America. It gets harder as you get older, folks. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
It gets harder as you get older. But we've been having a really good time. We heard about this spooky hotel, which is now where we're staying. And the moment we arrived and put our bags in the room, it started. It started with a picket fence we have out back, a cowboy hat moved across the picket fence. Well, I noticed that while Mike was doing another radio show. So I started taking photographs. And the lady told me the story about what Virgil Earp, is it?
Yes.
Virgil Earp. They believe it's his ghost walking back and forth because that's the house he stayed in, right directly behind the hotel. So it's believed it was his ghost. And I saw it not once, but I saw it twice. Then the lady saw it with me who was visiting us. And that was absolutely amazing. But we've heard nothing but stories about Tombstone while we were here. We had dinner and we heard lots and lots of stories about this place. It's absolutely fantastic.
It is. And one of the funny things is painted on a fence is a cowboy, a cowgirl, and
Two
two
little kids.
kids.
Yeah, two little kids.
And he goes, "Oh, I think I saw that." And I sat down. I wasn't laying down, but I sat right where he was, and I was like, all I saw was a tree. So we
You
were
can't
like,
see it.
yeah, the fence doesn't exist in that
Well,
position.
you know how the light goes through a picket fence. Well, if anything was on the other side of the picket fence walking, you would clearly see it breaking the light. And this didn't happen. But the cowboy hat was there and nothing breaking the light.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I went and changed my shorts, came back. But it was definitely real. There's no doubt about it. I had a witness with me, so it's beyond real. And this is starting to become more interesting. Now, folks, people call me Captain Rob because I sail ships. I have a group on Facebook called the Ghost Ship Hunters. And what we do is we sail out and explore the unknown. Where I got interested in that, I've always been sailing because I grew up in Florida. But I sail large ships. I restore them, ships from the 18th century, 16th century. I just restore them and we sail them. We make them work and we sail them. And when I say into the unknown, for example, it's called Ghost Ship Treasure Hunters. There's a reason for that. We follow ships. One ship, for example, we followed out. And the fog ship, it just looked like a fog ship way in the distance. We followed it for a long time, probably about 2 days, and it suddenly stopped. And I told my crew, full sail, don't stop, keep going. And we literally put our living ship into the fog, and when it vanished, right then it vanished. And so we sent divers down. And sure enough, there was a sunken ship directly under that fog. Where that fog broke up, there was a sunken ship. And that started the Ghost Ship Treasure Hunters. I found out how real it is. And I realized absolutely nobody is doing ghost hunt or anything like that, paranormal investigations on ships, wooden ships, I'm referring to, not the Queen Mary or something, but actual wooden galleons, cannon battleships. Nobody's doing adventures on those ships. Now they're 300, some of them 400 years old. And I've always wondered why. They're extremely, extremely active. And I've had people go on the boats with I love this, they're paranormal toys. And those toys go nuts when they go below deck. And there's no way to explain what that is because the ship's made of wood. There's no metal, there's no electric, there's nothing to interfere with those machineries, and they actually go nuts. And I really enjoy that part of it. And I enjoy the video footage they come out with from those ships. But the other reason they call me Captain Rob is because when I do massive projects, extremely large productions. For one example, I built a Viking ship out of 15 million ice cream sticks, 5 tons of glue with the help of 5,000 children to help children. This ship is 45 foot long and it's a sailing Viking ship. It's a fully functional Viking ship. Everybody, including Guinness, says, nah, it can't be done. Well, I did it. The other thing I did, helping children, is I created the world's largest Delta kite, 1/2 mile by 1 mile long, using giant flagpoles as sticks and a giant steel cable and a tractor. They said it wouldn't work, but it worked. And in fact, everything I've ever done was said to be impossible. But now I'm out to prove to kids anything is possible. I'm a handicapped person, but I'm out to prove you can do anything. If you believe it, it's in your heart, it's in your spirit, and in the right direction, you can do anything. And I'm putting that into the paranormal world as well. So it's a nice study what I do. I don't think there's anybody else in the world doing things that I do. So
No, and you actually did an adventure, and I kind of was like surprised that you were able to do it because of the location, and that is the Paris catacombs.
that was fun. The Paris catacombs, they have a little spot where they send tourists down, and you're literally these are caves under the streets of Paris, 7 foot tall, 13 to 30 foot thick, of nothing but human skulls. They're estimating somewhere around 50 million, the entire population of Paris from the 18th century and 16th century as well. And yeah, well, I didn't want to do just that. I said, how far do these things go? Oh, we don't really know. That's what they told me. I said, well, why don't you know? Nobody's ever done it. I said, well, I want to do it. Monsieur, do you realize you may get lost? I said, won't it be fun? Let me get lost. I took my team and I went down in the catacombs. We were down there for 3 solid days. The skulls, folks, never stopped. We walked at least 15 miles. They don't let tourists do this. They really didn't want me to do it. Well, I didn't actually tell them I was going to do it. I just did it. And me and my team went 15 miles through the catacombs, and they never ended. We had our mile counter as we walk. It was counting our footsteps. We went 15 miles, and they were still endless. They were still endless. We sent a robot in that went an extra mile before its batteries ran out. It went an extra mile with no effort, and you could see no end to it. And nobody really knows how many miles and miles and miles these tunnels go. But the activity in there, you ever walk into a place with 15 million dead? Hey, you get activity. Let me tell you what, you get activity. It's a lot of fun.
Didn't you say that you were like finding like hidden passages or something?
We found a lot of hidden passages. We didn't know where they'd go, but there was always clues on the wall. Like they would build the skulls into hearts shapes. They would always send like a little message, go this way, don't go that way, go this way, not that way. And these are the people that stacked the skulls originally. And what happened, the original story of the skulls is the center of Paris, the center block of Paris, was originally a graveyard. And they were stacking graves on top of graves on top of graves, and they wanted their town back. So they dug up every one of these graves. They had no idea how deep these would go. And they had dug up these graves. Now they had so many bones and parts, they didn't know what to do with them. Where do they go? Then they remembered they had the catacombs, which are where they got the blocks to build Paris. The granite blocks came from the catacombs. So they said, let's stick them down there. The catacombs were certainly big enough. The catacombs originally were 50 feet across wide and about 9 feet tall when they started. There's enough space for 2 people to walk hand in hand and nothing else. That's how thick they built them up in there. And they just go on forever and ever and ever. And they have no maps of these catacombs because they were built back in the 1500s. They have no maps. They have no idea where these go. or actually, they still don't know to this day how many bodies are actually there, how many skulls. That's how they count them, by skulls. But when you can go 15 miles and you got 9 foot thick walls of skulls going 20 feet back thick, you can estimate millions upon millions of people. And and I asked about the paranormal. Nobody did it. Nobody had done it. Well, I had this wonderful friend, something similar. Since I like skulls, I like catacombs. They brought it up to me about another possibility. And this was my friend in Scotland, Ian Williams, great investigator, terrific guy. I have visited him many times in Scotland. And this is underneath the streets of Scotland, the Edinburgh vaults, underneath Edinburgh. They, again, just like in France, they have no idea where these go. They know about it, why it was created, but they have no idea how far they go. They keep cutting off left and right. So they called me up and made me a challenge after I went down there, I guess like any tourist would do, and we left, big deal. Then they invited me back, the government. Well, you did good in Paris. How far will it go? And because there were no skulls, I was more happier to do that. The smells were less. And but the paranormal was not less. I have photographs of the actual life-size figures staring at me from different passageways. Again, this was a never-ending journey. We went on this one. We went 30 miles, and they just continued. They did not stop. They just continued up beyond the normal tourist visit area, and you could go into. You could let's just say you could acquire. I'll say it that way. You can acquire an entrance. It's in Edinburgh that the people know about that others don't. The cops and
Yeah.
people are not going to do it. But we acquired an entrance. And there was, again, no end to it, no end. This time we had a lit robot with a string. We just let it unroll the string. We had 5 miles of string. It ran out really quick. And we had to call the robot back because it started running out of juice. And it did. The batteries kept dying. So we went after it. That was probably the most amazing hike I've ever done in my life, going way back into the catacombs, knowing that nobody had ever been there. The things you see and what goes on beyond paranormal. See, I like that kind of stuff. I like what nobody else has done. And to do a real investigation, I'm not the type, I won't use names. I won't throw names, but I'm not the type to walk into any structure anywhere on earth and yell, out demons. That's not my way of doing it, or calling everybody a demon and screaming.
Yeah.
I'm more very silent, and I use very little equipment outside of a flashlight and a recorder. I go in there and use a film video. I don't need anything else. I don't use anything else. And although my team carries everything known to mankind, and their machines go nuts just like they do on my boats on both of those locations, these places are really cool in Europe. Also in Europe, I have what they call, excuse me, we both have colds. The key, the key to every castle of Europe. I have gone and I posted them on my Ghost Ship Hunters group. Every single castle in Holland. I've already toured them. I toured every single castle of Belgium and France. And also in my hiking adventures, we discovered the Templars village. They never knew about it. The French, if they knew about it, they never spoke of it until we mentioned it to them. We found an entire town up on a mountainside with a castle, which you couldn't see from the air. They just never knew it was there. And that was the one I posted with the night, a night looking down at us from a very high tower. Now the tower, we thought it was an actor first, and then one of my research members said, "No, no, Rob, there's no staircase. That is an empty walls."
Yeah. And Pamela is asking,
Get your hands off that.
how can she share this in her group? You can take the link from the post on my timeline that's pinned to the top, and you can share the YouTube or Facebook links.
Or on Facebook, if you just go to the Ghost Ship Hunters, ask to join, you can just hit photos and look through them. all the photographs of everything I just mentioned and more, a lot more I haven't mentioned. I could never mention 30 years of my life, 35 years of my adventures and what I do. I'm 65. I just retired. But I think there's nobody on earth that has done as much as I've done. Every year, I'm in about 75 locations in Europe. I'm just constantly going. And now I've stopped my major productions with the children, and I started turning it straight into paranormal full time as my retirement comes in. And from pirate graveyards to castles, every castle in Europe, once again, I don't think there's a paranormal group anywhere that has done as many castles as I. In fact, paranormal groups are some of them. I shouldn't say paranormal groups. Television. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Some tel.
So, one of the things that's interesting is Derek is asking, he's saying how cool that is. And talking about Scotland, have you been to Dumfries and the Gallow
I have
area?
been everywhere in Scotland, one side to the other, and Ireland as well, from Belfast all the way down to Dublin. I've been everywhere. It's people invite me, and if it sounds interesting, and I won't use names. Remember that. If they tell me, I'll use the names Mac Bacon and his spooky adventures. I'll use it that way. If he's been there, I won't go because this particular TV personality left a really nasty reputation all over the world. And so I will go if they want me to clean up that or investigate something real. I'm into it. I've never turned down an investigation.
That's cool. And one of the things, too, that's interesting that you do that I think there are very few people that do is beyond the paranormal, even at locations, is you'll metal detect.
Oh God, yeah. That's why we call it ghost ship treasure hunters. Marty, I have a mini museum in my house from the gold and silver coins I have found. I call it ghost ship treasure hunts because it is a treasure hunt. And I have underwater metal detectors with our divers, and I have above water ground radars and metal detectors. My favorite thing in that right now is pirate graveyards and graveyards in general. Um, it said nobody knows where the pirates buried their treasure. Hey, the pirates knew. All you got to do is get in contact with them. You got to try. They knew where they buried the treasure. And we've had dynamic results with that. Dynamic results.
Yeah. Derek says, let me see if I can pop it up. What's the oldest relic you found using a metal detector?
Um, about 2,500 Roman coins in one jar, 2,500 silver Roman coins, which is, they find a lot of Roman coins in Europe in jars, but never silver. Well, I read in a book where the Romans used to bury only silver coins on a riverbank to their gods, or thank you for the god, like when they traveled from Denmark to the Netherlands. They would bury it on the Rhine or somewhere on the river, wherever they camped. Now, metal detecting on land, I started finding silver and gold artifacts, not coins, in the land. So I knew this is where they were building their boats. And I would start researching the shoreline, and I would find these pots full of coins. And I have, I think, now 18 treasures, official treasures found. They're considered treasures when there's more than 10 coins.
So, when you find these treasures, what's the procedures that you have to follow to keep everything above board?
Well, I'm not sure I'm following now.
Well, meaning, are a lot of people will say they found
I
something, but
don't.
they don't disclose.
If I find coins, I don't sell them. First of all, if I find them in Holland, they belong to the country of Holland. They don't belong to me. It's their history, not mine. And it belongs partly to Denmark because it's their coins, their people who dropped them or buried them in the case. I have a mini museum in my house. Those coins are in my house in Holland. They're not for sale. They're for display only. They're for looking at. And it's for people visiting me. I'll show them the coin and about every coin and every plate. Be aware, every coin and every plate and every cup, and they keep close track of these things. And it's the way I set it up. I, I I don't believe in these guys that find these artifacts in Egypt or wherever they find them and just sell them on the market. Yeah, you could get rich that way. I could certainly, but it would be stealing from the country you're searching in. They give you permission. They're nice enough to give you permission. Then you should be nice enough to give them the artifacts you find, or at least give them the option to say, here's the artifacts. It's up to you.
And one thing too that you do that I find that's a really big homage to history and to keeping history alive is the D-Day remembrances that you do.
Oh, every single June 6th, every single D-Day, you can find me on Normandy Beach. Not where the big celebrations are. Sometimes you can, but usually on the beach itself. Now, I was at the last 12 celebrations. I went to celebrations. I normally don't, but the presidents were going to be there, and I thought, okay. And some celebrity friends of mine from Hollywood were there. I was there when Joe Biden went wandering away. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I was there when he went wandering away. And they pulled him back to the stage, and I didn't know what to think of that. I think the Paris leader kept looking and laughing. I was 3 seats back. You can actually see me in the videos of that. I was the only one probably there at that event that actually busted out laughing. I couldn't help it. I just busted out laughing. I've never seen anything like that coming from a world leader. Now, you got to imagine to the everybody's on the stage, including the president. Now, to the left was a parachutist that came in, a D-Day parachutist to show off. To the right, there was nothing but trees and grass and forests. There were no graves. The graves were behind us, by the way. So when he was up on stage, he was looking over the graves. And he just went walking off. And I'm like, well, gee, at least let me give him a metal detector so he doesn't look crazy. If he's going to wander off, at least metal detector, something. Yeah, but that was about the weirdest thing. That convinced me I'm not going back to another one of those. I call them stage performances of D-Day. Um, Tom Hanks, a lot of people were there that I know, and no, I won't go. No. Now, where I go, you got to understand, you think it's just a beach. No, there's 5-story tall bunkers, 5 stories tall. These things are about the size of a football field round. And there's about 12 of them out there where I go. And this is where the super guns were that aimed at England. And they could have knocked out any boat anywhere. But these are closer to Calais, where they expected the invasion to take place at the end of the beach of the invasion. I think the British landed on that beach where I go. And inside those bunkers, they're totally ignored by the public. Inside those bunkers, the activity is hard to explain it. I got lots of photographs, but the activity goes off the charts on D-Day on the landing time. At 4:30 a.m., it's still dark outside. And you see, and I don't know why it is, but every single year, right at those hours, and now they call it fog day, the French people who live on the beach, but a fog rolls in at that very hour of D-Day, all the way down the D-Day beaches. And you hear things that shouldn't be there. You hear gunfire, you hear people screaming, you hear noises, but they're very faint and very distant, but you can record them. I mean, they're very real. And I found out I was the only paranormal person out there that goes. I was the French people know me now. I'm the only one they can expect to be there. I'm the only one willing to go near the beach. Now, the French people run away. They go on vacation. They go on holiday. They go anywhere around the 4th. They get lost. So the beach, I'm on my own. There's nobody out there. If something goes wrong, that's just it. And by the way, don't metal detect on Normandy Beach. I found at least 4 German tank mines, large ones, really large ones. I found all kinds of bombs, and they're still out there, all over the beaches. They're still there. And occasionally you'll find a helmet with bones in it, or you'll find boots with bones in it. There's no way to clean up that many people dying. There's no way to clean it up. That's on both sides, Germans. But the activity there, that's what I mean. I'm glad to be proud as an American to say I was the only one who does this. I'm the only one that seems to care. Everybody goes up for the circus or the show, the TV show, at the grave sites. Well, this is where they died. This is why I want to be there. This is where they died. And it's amazing what goes on there. But you can only do it once a year. I only do it once a year. And last year I almost missed it because I was doing the stage performance thing. I was supposed to give a speech, but I couldn't. I was laughing too hard. They, they wanted me to do it as a former soldier. I was in the U.S. Army, and they wanted me to do it as a children's hero in all the books. So I was happy to do that. Of course, it never happened. I couldn't stop laughing. I'm sorry, I couldn't stop. It's like, what am I supposed to say? I'm proud to be here for this clown. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make people hate me or something.
Well, and
Yeah.
another thing about D-Day that you've talked about doing, and to be honest, I don't know if you still do, but is the dog tags.
I still do it. Now, there's nobody doing it but me. I'll take the metal detectors with a team of people, and we'll go looking for American dog tags. Of course, we find German dog tags as well, but the German dog tags are always broken in half. The American dog tags are always solid. And we find these dog tags sometimes, not always, but sometimes with the entire skeletal remains. When we're digging, we find the entire skeletal remains. And we call a special American organization, not a French, an American organization to come dig up the bones. Now, what's odd to me, and it's still odd to me because we're in a modern age, when I contact the German government and I tell them we found entire skeletal remains of a German soldier fallen in war, they don't seem to care. I'll just let it be. They don't. And this also happened during a search for the German Nazi gold, not the train. Don't get me wrong, that's a joke, but the actual gold. Uh, it involved the train, but at one point during the war, just to give you a brief history, there was a train heading south towards Germany because the Russians were coming in that direction. Now, the train could only go so far because the Americans are coming up the other way really fast. So somewhere in a 50-mile stretch, which isn't very far, along the rail track, 50 miles long, the gold went missing. The train was empty. The train was completely empty because they know the gold was on there. And a lot of people said the amber room was connected to that train too. But nobody's ever found a thing. And when we search out there, we find Germans occasionally. We just tell them, and the German government just doesn't seem to give a shit. Did you find the gold? That's all they're interested in. Did
Yeah.
you find the gold? Well, I informed one German ambassador, if we found the gold, it came from the Jews, so it's going to the Jewish church. I don't care if we find 50 tons, it's going to the Jewish church because it came from their fingers, their teeth, it came from their people.
Yeah.
And there's no way to keep that. But the Germans wish to keep it, I guess, monetary. And governments, I would say the Netherlands as well, the governments want to keep the gold. Money is an amazing attractor, amazing thing. But I won't let that happen. If I found it, I haven't found it, of course, but if I found it, it's going to the Jewish community. It was their bodies, their loved ones. That's their gold. It belongs to nobody else. And there's no debating. I won't have it go into a big debate, political debate. There's nothing to debate. It belongs to them. But we're searching. We have some. I won't. I can't say too much about it. We've done 30 of the 50 miles. Unless you take a box of 10 bars, you're talking about 300 kilograms. You're not going to walk very far away from those railroad tracks at all. So we know the distance it's going to be because they had to do it really fast. As far as the amber goes, of course, that won't go up in a metal detector, but I'm sure it's buried all in the same area. Now, within that space we have left, there is a big lake, and nobody has searched that lake. We looked and looked and looked, and nobody has searched the lake. And I'm starting to wonder if they didn't just dump it all in the lake, because that would make more sense to dump all the gold in the lake and come back for it later, logically.
You'd have to bury it shallow, though.
So in my routine in June, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be diving that particular lake or draining that lake. But once we get the political side of it dealt with, and the Dutch government's really cool, with my plan, giving it to the Jewish community immediately. It doesn't have to leave Holland. There's a big Jewish community right there. They can send it to Israel. but give it to the Jewish community within Holland. It's theirs, their people, their blood, and let it ride. Let's see what happens. I think they said right now I'm probably one of the explorers that's closest to finding it than anybody in history. How close am I? Von Garrett, my good friend who owns Garrett Metal Detectors, gave me quite a few machines for this process. He just gave them to me. He said, "You're closer than anybody. Good luck." And yeah, come to think of it, most everything I've ever done, these big productions I've done, have all been on handshakes with big major corporations, just a handshake. And if I'm honest with them, they're honest with me, and I do things on a handshake. Of course, I can always say, Nick, find your own gold. I can always do that. So they got to keep honest with me.
Yeah, and talking about the Nazi work that you do, you know, investigating their
I don't
what
do
they're
Nazi
doing.
work.
Well, I mean, investigating their
Right.
history and everything. I remember, I don't know how many times you've been there, but talking to you about Auschwitz.
38 times out of 38 years I've been there. Out of every year I've been in the Netherlands, I travel to Auschwitz every year. And I'm not Jewish, don't get me wrong. Um, there, I think people are crying for help that are there in the spirit world. We're talking the spirit realm now. When you go there, and that's why it's such a popular place for people to tour now. If you go there, you immediately feel it. You immediately feel the depression. You immediately feel the people. You feel the situation. And if you're allowed to walk freely in there, which I am, you you get the response on video. You say, "Please show me you so I can help you," and they do it. This is the only place I know where the paranormal will react to you immediately. They're really wanting help. And of course, you can carry a trainload of sage. You're never going to clean it. It's never going to be cleaned. And you don't know how to help them. I don't.
No, and I remember talking to you one time, and I was like saying to you, "Oh, that would be so interesting to investigate," because of the history and everything. And you said, "No,
Don't.
you have to be."
You have to be a certain type of person to go into Auschwitz at night under alone and walk out with your sanity. You have to be a certain type of person, and I'm not kidding a bit. You have to be a certain type of person. Now, I people said, "Why not outside the walls of Auschwitz? Outside the fence." And there's a lot of farm fields out there, cabbage patches, and just large farms. And I was getting photographs of images walking towards me, human being images. And I didn't understand that. How can this? I'm not in the camp. This should be a peaceful night out. That's the way I looked at it. And it was worse than being in Auschwitz, a lot worse. And then I asked somebody, why would this be worse? The ashes of the cremated from inside Auschwitz were used to fertilize the cabbage field.
Oh
So,
wow!
yeah, oh, wow. And they don't tell you that. They don't tell that in history. The farms all the way around Auschwitz, the grasslands, everything around Auschwitz, the cow land, all of it, that's where they put the ashes they grind it into the land. Those spirits are not letting go at all. They're not letting go. But you say shooting fish in a barrel. You heard that term.
Right.
Well, over there at Auschwitz, it's like trying to fight sharks. I don't know, with a little dart. Uh, if you had 1,000 sharks come at you and all you got is a little dart, what are your odds? You're not going to have good odds. And I've seen paranormal teams, by name, household words, these paranormal teams, run out screaming and crying. They go in real brave and talking real brave. And of course, they walk into some of the buildings yelling, "Demons, come forth." And whatever comes forth makes them run out crying. And the same thing, they try to steal this TV show in America, tried to steal these bunkers from me. So these 4 investigators, or 5 of them, went in there with a big name TV show, and they ran out crying. They ran out crying, and they never went back. I'll never have to worry about them again. They'll never go back. They said it verbally, but they won't say what they saw, and they won't air it. It's too unbelievable what they thought they saw. And I never saw what they saw, but I can very well understand what happened. I see these things regular. You have to imagine being camping, which is what I do. I go there and I set up a tent and I camp right there in the midst of all of it. There's a nice little campground nearby. Nobody stays in, nobody goes near, but it was meant to be a campground, but it really failed big. I'll camp there, and sometimes I'll camp with the whole team. Um, you can forget your cell phones and that kind of stuff because that stuff, for some reason, magnetically, it won't work. A lot of your equipment won't work. Your equipment, the batteries go dead if they take batteries. I mean, just as fast as you put them in. I had a friend who carried a whole case of batteries. He went through the whole case and within 2 hours. That's how fast. These are brand new
Wow.
and they just drained out. The energy there's nothing to compare it to. I've never seen anything in my life to compare it to. That you feel it when you arrive. When you walk up to the bunkers, you feel it. The closer you get to D-Day, the hour, you feel it. And remember, every D-Day there was a storm out at the sea. And on D-Day itself, the original D-Day. Well, what do you call it, paranormal or what? Every single D-Day, a storm erupts 1 hour before the landing. Is that a coincidence? 1 hour before the landing, that's 20 miles of beach starts erupting and boiling. I guess you call it boiling waves. There's no way to explain that.
No, and kind of switching gears a little bit to a little lighter paranormal topic, and that all that aside, one of the things that's interesting is you like to talk about how you go to places and you'll have candy in your pocket and all the kids that come.
Now, I've worked with kids my whole life. As I mentioned, I was in a children's hospital for a long period of my life. And I know what makes kids happy. And I bring certain candies, not candies that they give out in hospitals. They still do those special candies that kids are safe to have. I would carry these bags of candy, just loaded bags of candies everywhere. And I could be sitting with friends talking in a restaurant, I mean, in a quiet place or campground, and you hear those bags rattling. And I had them, and I said, "Go ahead and inspect me." And they start looking at the pockets, inspecting my pockets. How are you doing this? How are you doing this? My hands are right there. I'm not. And they get freaked out pretty much. But I have a habit of, uh, I went to Ireland to a children's place. I've been to Scotland to a place, a home for children. I have this habit of making children giggle. Past, we're talking spirits. I can make children giggle just being myself. They know I've been where they were. They know I've been in the hospital. They know my situation. I can make them giggle. I can bring it out. I don't care where I am. And I've been challenged on hundreds of investigations where I made kids giggle. For me, that's life. If I can make a kid happy, that's where I'm at. I'm right there. That's what I'm basically all about. That's what I've always been about my whole life. Just
Yeah.
helping kids, make them smile.
And the other story I was going to bring up, I'm sure you know which one I'm going to say is, and I've seen the photos, so and it's like incredible to see the fort that's not a fort.
Oh God, that was fun. We were there. There was a mountain in Austria. A friend invited me to stay in Austria for a week because he wanted this. He'd heard about me and that I'm fearless, blah blah blah. And he was telling me all of these spooky stories about the ghost of the Roman legion. That's what it was. The ghost of the Roman legions, always at the bottom of the mountain, walking up the mountain, but they're not on the mountain. They don't know where to look on the mountain. So he was going to take me up there metal detecting on the mountain. He did. Oh, we had our metal detectors ready to go. He got me on top of the mountain. Okay, we got to split up. This is a huge mountaintop. So I said, "You go to the right, I'll go to the left." And I had cameras and videos running at the time. And well, I saw a really neat, it looked like, if you will, a really large children's treehouse, only really, really big. And I just took a lot of photographs of it. It's in a heavy fog, first of all. The whole mountaintop was heavy fog. And I walked over to him and he said, "Where were you, Rob? You've been gone longer than you should have been." I was getting worried because you can't see each other. And I was a tourist in this country, and he was getting nervous. He's an English guy. And I said, I was over there by that fort. He goes, what fort? I go, the fort that's over there on the side of the hill. He said, I've been here 1,000 times. I live here. There is no fort on this mountain. I said, really? And it shocked me to that point because I'd been looking at it. I walked on it. I started walking on it. It was solid. I shook the wood. I took photographs, close ups. It was there. It was real. And he said, show me. Well, I had dropped little red flags because we were metal detecting, and I wanted him to dig the red flags up. So we followed the red flags back, and there was nothing there. Nothing on the hill. And
Yeah. It's incredible seeing the photos because what you can imagine is seen is, like he's saying, there's fog, but in this fog is this black silhouette
a very
of
clear
a
one.
fort. And it's like, and I remember when he put it in the group, he goes, what are you all seeing? We're all going, well, it's a fort. We all saw it. We all knew exactly what shape it was. And
Well, I posted a video of me and the man having a conversation, the argument, I should say. I lived here all my life. There's no fort on this hill with that British accent of his. Well, come on, let's go look. I videoed it. And he didn't, there was nothing there, only a cliff. Then I showed him the video. Then he started shaking. You did what nobody could do. You have a picture of the fort. Okay. That's got nothing to do with metal detecting, folks. And that was when you're in a strange country, on a strange property, in a strange place with strange people, you don't expect that to happen.
yeah.
So that was kind of, I'm into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one spot that you've been to, you can't do a paranormal show without mentioning because you've physically been there.
Okay.
2 locations: Frankenstein's Castle,
Oh,
Dracula's Castle.
every year. Every Halloween, you know where you can find me. I'm at one or the other or both. I will always go to Dracula's Castle or Frankenstein's Castle. Dracula's Castle, creepy beyond words. Of course, I know a relative of the family, Dracu, the great granddaughter of Dracu, and she set me up where nobody has been. There's been a lot of paranormal groups there, of course. She set me up in a tower to the top of where Dracu's actual chamber was, his room, when he was a king, Vlad's room. And I thought I would stay there overnight. Why not? That could be cool. I was in there about 15 minutes. Yeah, folks, I was in there about 15 minutes. I went in there, and first of all, there was this huge shadow coming. And I'm like, I'm not afraid of you. I'm an American ghost hunter. I may live in the Netherlands, but I'm an American. I'm afraid of not a damn thing. And then the lights, and then the growling. And I'm in this room alone. There's only one other person in the castle, all the way in the basement. I know her. I had her on the radio. You enjoying yourself in your room? I'm on my way down. I got out of there real quick. Frankenstein's Castle, which is in Germany, that is probably a paranormal investigator's dream to go into the tower. Some famous TV shows have been there and weren't allowed to go into the tower. I was, because they're missing the diaries. And I have all the metal detecting equipment to look through walls. So they invited me to go there and look for the diaries. In my opinion, he was a doctor. The actual doctor was a doctor before his time. It's like just now in modern times, we're learning to transplant eyes, ears. Even teeth now. We're transplanting certain things. But he could do things at that time. This is way before Tesla. You're talking the 1400s. This guy had control over things that the town could see from the town. The lights going on when there were no electricity. There were no lights, but he had them going on. In my opinion, he was just a doctor before his time. There was a story they told me about a man got trampled by a wagon rolling downhill. His arms were cut off. His legs were cut off. He's dead as far as that goes. Now, back in those days, they used to take dead bodies out of the grave to work on, to learn. Well, he was freshly dead. They didn't have him in the grave, so they took him to the castle. Now, you got to imagine if you're a townsperson, you see the dead body went there to the roof. You see all these lights and all this stuff going on. And a few days later, you see a guy physically, okay, on sticks maybe, but physically walking out, not dead. This is where the legend became. And they burned down the castle. And the legend is they burned down the castle, they killed the guy. But the equipment's still up there. It's bronze and it's still up there. It's all shot, of course, rusted shot. Some of it stone, I call it stone shot, will never be repaired. But it looks like more like a Tesla's lab than anything else. There's nothing you can identify, let's put it that way, as a light bulb, or you can't identify any of that, or electrical cords even. But you can look at it and you say, it's something like Tesla. But again, nobody knows what the stuff was used for. Nobody knows how he did it. A lot of people said the original guy was a monster. A lot of people said it's just a Shelley book. It's just a book. There's more to the book. Every book is written. There's basis behind every story. From Dracula, there's a lot of basis in back of it. From Frankenstein, there's a lot in back of it before the book was written. But now they're trying to find the diaries, and I believe the diaries do exist. He wrote it in stone on the wall that it exists. In my books is your favor, your ability to move and walk. That's in my books. And he wrote it, chiseled it into the walls, which is part of the castle forever. He hit them real good, and nobody knows where. In those days, they used silver buckles to close books. So if there's any silver or metal involved, I could detect it with my machinery. But you can only do so much in so much time. So, and you have to be willing to hang out, let's say, for a day or two, which even I'm not willing to sit there alone for a day or two. It would take a bigger team, let's put it that way, a braver team than me. Dracula's castle. Vlad Dracula, that's another story altogether. He was a very real person. A lot of people don't know that. Dracula drinking the blood, that happened. It was a very, very real person. When they went to search his grave, that's why they say they don't know where he's buried. Back then, when they buried a vampire, let's say it that way, they would put his skull between his legs, a stone in his mouth. They would cover it with heavy stone and heavy steel spikes and chains. So nothing can get out, nothing can get in. Well, they found one, and it was marked Vlad. And they really believed it was Vlad. It couldn't be anybody else because it's buried on the property, literally. And they opened it up, and the dust that was in there was shaped as a human. There were no bones, but you could see where the bones were. It's like the bones stood up. And that was a recent find. And we're still looking into that. We're still looking at it. It's the best I can say on that.
So MN has got a question for you.
Sure.
Did any of the spirits or ghosts ever follow you home?
Yes, 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 yes. How about almost every time? Almost every time. But I am one of those people that enjoy it. I enjoy it. I like that because I'm not worried about evil possessions because I'm not that type of person. First, you have to be possessed. You have to be open to it to get possessed. I'm not. I don't open up to them. And I have lots of sage. And I will let them hang out with me as long as I want them to hang out with me. I have a few little children spirits that hang out with me to this day. And I've had friends and groups come from America to meet my little friend. And I won't say too much about that, but she's very real, very much there. And I won't let her go away. And
so a fun little fact about Rob and I is on our first road trip. I love telling this story because it's kind of humorous, but in the same way validating of a lot of things. Is we were at West Virginia at the school that we thought was Ramsey School, but then we found out it wasn't the Ramsey School.
Right? Oh God.
And I go into this closet area, and something tries to push me through the floor, and Rob is in the hallway. And when I come around the corner, he's fixing his hat, and he said something flicked my hat off. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, I can miss all the cool stuff. But then we heard, was it a giggle or a
Yeah,
voice?
a giggle, little girl.
And Rob looked at me and he's like, I could see his eyes going, you heard that, right? And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I heard that.
yeah.
And I was about to go somewhere. And we turn around because we hear it again. And we go running towards that room. And I went out there, but you stayed in the doorway. And then we all did our own thing. And then we went up to the top floor.
I will tease little kids to make them laugh, living or dead. I will.
Yeah. So we went up to the top level, to this little room that was sticking out like a closet that had windows and all these flies in it. It was the only space that had flies, and we were like,
That was wild. Yeah, that was. You just got to go with it. Wherever there is good, there's evil. It's just commonplace. There's good and evil in the world and outside our realm. There's good spirits and bad spirits. I had this argument with a minister on radio before I left, an American minister. He's rich. He owns a lot of airplane. By the way, he's in Texas. He has an awful, I won't use names again. He has everything under the sun, and he thought I was this incredible sinner. I help kids, but I'm an incredible sinner, right? This guy. He's like, you're hunting ghosts and evil spirits. I said, wait a minute, pal. Every book, you said, you're a minister, you know the Bible, right? He goes, yeah. I said, every book, religious book, don't care where you go to, Old Testament, New Testament, the Jewish books, the Quran, there's ghost. It mentions ghost, Holy Ghost as well. Ghosts and Holy Ghost and good spirits and bad spirits. If it's in the Bible, how can you say it's bad? And if I'm researching something from the Bible, spirits, ghosts, you can't say I'm bad. You can't do that.
no.
I said, what is your job as a minister? Your job is to get me to believe in spirits and ghosts, right? That's your job. And well, God told me to do this. I said, really? Did God tell you to buy an airplane? Oh, I said, you bought 20. You have 20 airplanes in your garage at your house. Did he tell you about those 3 limousines? You own 3 private jets. Did God tell you to buy those? Come on. I have nothing in the world but me. And I've helped more children in an hour than most people have done in their entire lives. And this guy's telling me I'm going to hell because I believe in ghosts. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but for me, the funny moment was we wrap up doing what we're doing there, and we go to the car, and I'm getting in the car, and I look over, and Rob's like this on the top of the car, and he goes, thank you for not running.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you're welcome.
I was worried you were going to run as fast as you possibly could. I wanted to get out of the place for an entirely different reason.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, we both were like, because the funny thing about Rob is he'll always stay in the ghost ship group whenever we post a picture of a spirit or a haunted location. He'll comment, yeah, you guys have fun. I'll be at the pub.
That's it.
And
No, when you do things with a big team and it's a brand new place and I've never seen it. Hey, I tell you what I'll do. Don't worry, you guys will be safe. I'll radio the instructions from the pub. I'm hunting for the pole dancing ghost. You go look for that. And I do that with everybody. I'm just a clown.
yeah, but I always would say in the group, oh, I'd run towards it. And so it was like a moment for us to where we were like, yeah, we are who we say we are.
You mentioned a ghost hunting location one time on tour, and I said, buddy, if I see what you're describing, and I see it with my own eyes, all you're going to see of me is butt and Nikes.
Yeah.
And a smoke trail. I'm gone. I ain't going to hang around.
Yeah.
We have fun.
We do, and we're honest with each other, and I think that and authentic, and that's the key for any paranormal investigators.
Honestly, at the Grand Canyon, remember that
Yeah,
we went inside the Grand Canyon and the ghost of Fred Harvey in the painting.
yeah,
This is not a joke, and you can't paint it to do that. You could look into. They say never look into his eyes, so I talked him into it. Look into his eyes, and then walk to the left, walk to the right. You can walk up the stairs, you can walk down the stairs. Now it doesn't matter. Once you lock eyes with it, no matter where you go, his eyes are dead on you because he
yeah.
wants to know what you're up to. And that was the Fred Harvey at the El Tovar Hotel at the Grand Canyon.
I
And the
filmed
painting is
it.
still up, folks.
Yeah.
But don't look into its eyes if you go there.
Well, unless you want to be followed, in which case, do look in the eyes.
No, I learned a lot of stories like that I will only tell the story if it can be backed up. You know, I hear so many stories. I, some stories are just outright silly. But if you can't back it up, don't talk about it. And I got
Yeah,
photographs. Everything I'm saying, I can back up in photographs on the Ghost Ship Hunters Treasure Quest group on Facebook. That's one thing I'm proud to say. Anything I say can be backed up immediately.
yeah. MN is asking, have we been to Utah? If so, any experiences you've had there? I have not been to Utah yet. Have you, Rob?
I've been invited to a place up north called Skinwalker, um, but I don't do things for TV people. I don't do that. Yes, I can bring my metal detectors. I have one with me now. I can do certain things there, but if it has to do with promoting their TV show, I feel I shouldn't say it. What I do about
About
the
going into a location and yelling for spirits.
yeah,
No.
right, or Oak Island, for example.
Yeah.
And I've had some, not anyone you've seen on TV, but I had someone tell me, a production person in the background, they have, I was invited to go look for the gold. They have a metal detecting person there. He's quite good, Gary Drayton. He's quite good at what he does. But I was invited there because I read pirate maps. I can read stone maps. I can read old writings from history. I've studied it my whole life. And they found a stone plate with strange writing. They could not identify the writing, which I could. I can translate it immediately. And I told the producer there, I can translate this. And from what I'm reading, I can walk straight to your vault or whatever's buried. That who knows what's buried there. But I said, I can walk you to where to dig. And you're digging in the wrong place because it said it in the scroll. You're digging on the endless pit. That's meant for pirates who want to steal your treasure. You can dig to the center of the earth, you're not going to find anything. And what is it? The pit. They call it the money pit, and they're digging forever.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it for now 200 years. They have found nothing, and they never will. If they do it correctly, they're going to walk straight to the treasure. The guy said, we can't do that. I said, why? This is a producer, none of the stars. Because we'll lose our TV show. Oh, okay. We won't do that then. Then he's
Yeah.
like, there's another way I can do it. Let me do a paranormal investigation on the island. They sent a team there that wasn't that great, but they sent a team there who gave up pretty early and really didn't come up with too much at all. But that's not my team. You know, my team is the same people that walked on Normandy Beach. Let us go in there. You know, like I said, I always said it, and I have proven it over and over again. You may not know where the treasure is, but the pirates who buried it do. You follow their spirits. They know where they buried it.
Yeah.
And you have to go with the paranormal. You have to go into that realm. But then again, the same subject comes up. We'll lose our TV show. Is that, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
The over there in Utah now, that's a whole different ball of wax. That's I've used Google Earth. I've used different things from home when I heard about the story. There's something going on there that's beyond me. You heard of vortex, which I'm not a UFO person. I'm not. I know the real UFOs, but I'm not into the. I don't understand enough about the transporting, and there's something
Yeah.
going in and out of the mountain. That's sure.
That's more my area.
But yeah, it's not mine. No, I don't know where to go with it. I don't know. And I was invited there for that, and it's like I don't know where would I go with my metal detectors and do what. I don't know. I don't know where to go. But evidently they drilled into the mountain and they found a metallic object. And my machine will tell them exactly what the metal is, but they send it away to $1,000 an hour guy who told them what it was. Although we were invited to go next door, weren't we?
Yeah.
So it might happen on this trip. I don't know. There's still enough time. Energy, I think we're out of gas at the moment.
Yeah.
We're about to go walk the streets of Tombstone. Whatever's left of us might just do that. We have no next. I have 3 weeks in the country in America before I go back to Europe. So we have 3 weeks. We could be in 7 days all the way back to Florida from anywhere.
Yeah. So stay tuned, and we will keep you apprised of our journey. And
we're going to a haunted bridge.
Yes, we are going to go check out a haunted bridge. So
that's something I've never done, folks. I've done hundreds of things. Actually, I've done trestle bridges, but I've never done what they're describing. This will be a new realm for me.
Yeah. So we'd like to answer all y'all's questions, but unfortunately, we have a couple of people waiting for us to go show us this bridge.
We got to tell them. You know, just before this radio show, we went to dinner with his friends, a paranormal group. We went to dinner with them, and we walked outside and we were discussing. Suddenly, we're way up high, maybe 100 vultures circling like they do on a dead animal or whatever. We took a slow walk back to this hotel, and they followed us. They followed us the whole way back. That was weird. And now you want to go on a bridge. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah. So, Derek, we have done St. Augustine. So
I grew up there.
And MN, if we come to Utah, we'll definitely let you know. We'll let everybody know. So just keep watching the shows. Remember to click like and subscribe to follow along, and helps out with the algorithms. And with that being said, we are going to say good night to everyone.
Good night, everybody. It's been a lot of fun.
It has. So safe journeys to everyone. Have a wonderful night. And good night from Tombstone.
Whoa.
Spirits are ready for us.
It's already happening.
Yeah. The screen just blinked. So we're going to end here before we lose Wi-Fi, and we'll go see what's going on. Good night, everyone.